I am in a wheelie, talking to two of my very good friends, Dave Biscoe, Steve Wald, both major parts of Tales of the Underworld, and they've come down today to join me with for a coffee and chat about the film. Really looking forward to this one.
The last place you'd come under the circumstances.
Well, that's precisely why I'm here, Jack.
All got what they deserve, what they tried to do to Ernie and me.
Be safe. You've got 5 days.
So here we are, sitting with Mr. Steve Wald.
Hello.
And Mr. Dave Biscoe. So it's been a long time since we actually met up, since we actually done the film. I just want to know a bit about you both of you, really. So how did you get into acting and why?
I always wanted to do it. I got accepted into drama school when I was 9. But my bottle went, so I didn't do it.
Where was that?
I can't remember. Well, it was in East London. It was something Mum sorted out for us. It was all ready to go, but when it come down to the crunch, I didn't want to leave all my mates and my school, and so my bottle went, and I never done it. And it sort of stayed with me. So for years, I kept banging on about it. And one day, my missus had enough, and she went, "Oh, why don't you just do it?"
Yeah.
so I did, and I never looked back. I bumped into some fella on a set once, and they said, "Go on to a thing called Star Now."
Yeah.
So we went on that, and the work started to roll in.
Oh, blimey.
So that's how I got in.
And how did you get started?
Much the same way. I really good at drama at school, but then when you get to take your options, you can only do one art.
Yeah.
And so I took painting, drawing and painting and that because I was really good at that. And never really, it's always something I wanted to do, but never went into it. But I had aspirations of, my first love was being a vet, so I never. But
a
the
vet?
downs, yeah, I love
James Herriot. There we go.
Yeah. So the thing was, I'm number blind. I'm absolutely crap at maths, and you had to have an A level in maths. So went from there, just jobbing about, and then heard about local film. Went down, put my name down, went down as an extra, and from there I went to Nevenham Manor. I heard about Nevenham Manor. It's a big place that puts on events for children, and they were doing a Halloween thing, so I was doing makeup and sets. Went on to doing Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and Willy Wonka, so I had main character roles in those.
Oh, bloody.
And then from there I got to another local film, and then signed up as an extra on a few different platforms, and got enough credits from doing theatre and stuff like that at Brookside, and got onto Star Now, Spotlight.
So what stuff have you both been doing, in recent times? I mean, I've seen some of your stuff, the one you done about your daughter, was it that?
Daddy's Girl.
Daddy's Girl.
Yeah, that was a while ago now, but I was about to give it all up because I kept getting cast in the same role, copper, doorman.
You've sort of done some of that about you, David.
In terms of what?
Work. I know you worked a lot of the Brookside.
Yeah, recent. I've not done anything since. I think this time last year, wasn't it? Actually, we were filming Tales of the Underworld. Prior to that, I did Daggers In. But it was just
who's that film?
Raya Films, Caroline and James.
Yeah.
But earlier on, when we were saying you apply for all this stuff now and you're not getting it. There's so much out there.
I'm afraid that's just the way of the business.
It just seems like there's a click that you need to break into.
I think that's always been it, guys. I think it's not changed. I was talking to Bob Patton, I said this a few times, and he was talking about when he got a part in the Long Good Friday, and he turned it down because he got 16 weeks at the National. And I said, why? He said, there was only a week on the Long Good Friday, it was 16 weeks on the National. And I said, would you? He said, well, I used to then go to another rep. And it seems to me you need to be in a clique these days, or in another. And you understand that for the simple reason is people work with the same people because they trust them. So, come on, how did you get involved in Tales in the Underworld?
Right, well, apparently, according to you, this is all my fault.
Yeah, well...
what happened was, about a year ago, we wasn't really working, it was all a bit quiet. And I'd wrote a showreel scene for a friend of mine who basically never ever used it. So I was sitting there one day, I was looking through some of my old scripts, and I went, that one works, I could adjust that into a short film. So I approached David and said, do you fancy jumping on and we'll do something, I'll adjust the script, make it into a short. He went, let's bring Tony in on this. Worst thing he ever done. So we sent you the script, and it evolved from there.
At a rapid pace, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was a
went-
rapid pace.
So how did you get involved in it? I know it was that, but I mean, I met you at the Romford Film Festival.
Yeah.
I met you at the screening of Lucas
Lucas
and
and
Albert.
Albert, yeah.
I'd known you on both on Facebook. I'd known you on Facebook, but you came down to
London
the
for
London screening
Yeah.
at the Prince Charles. So, and you went, oh, loved it. And that was the same thing. Thank you very much, guys. But when you sort of went there, what made you want to sort of think, right? I don't want to push myself, but why did you want to get involved in this project? I know Lucas and Albert, but once we started talking about it, what made you feel that, well, hold on, this could be more?
I think the writing, the scripts on that were really good.
We seem to have a similar mindset as well
Yeah.
to the industry and the way things should work.
And Darren, Bear, and Nicky, watching them, they're so easy to work with, so comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It did come at a fast pace, and once you told me, can we write a bit more for David, I'd ended up writing another part for somebody else and another part for somebody else, and hold on, I've got something going. And I think we actually wrote another script when we was doing it. I think it was Mr. Lucas. We said, we need something here to tie this, and I wrote that. So tell me about the role you're playing. I know the role you're playing, and I probably know because I've written this character, and the same with David's. I know him because I created them.
Yeah.
You tell me about
Well,
the
you
role.
brought me in. You brought me in for the November shoots of Babysitter, so we could do the trailer, put the trailer together for that. The role was Jack, and he's basically Mr. Mac's man on the coast. He runs that area for Mr. Mac. So he's. I like to think he's a bit of a nasty fella, but he's got a sense of humour, and he's sort of old school, and that's how I try to play it. And, you know.
I mean, what about your character, David?
Detective Riddington.
Copper.
Surprise. He's got a history of with the bad guys, and he plays everything by the book, and he wants justice. But I think there's a little touch of revenge there as well, to put them behind bars.
Yeah, so, what was it like working on set? I mean, as you said, we're an independent movie, and it's a low-budget independent, and I make no disguise of that. But we hope that we can make it as pleasant as possible. Right?
Not to blow smoke up anything. It was probably one of the most enjoyable sets I've ever worked on.
Yeah,
Everyone was so friendly, and
it was funny.
we had a right giggle. Yeah, it was a fantastic experience to be there.
Yeah, it was hard work. I mean, both of you put a lot of work in it. I mean, when Darren and Nicky and Bear come in, I know how hard they work. So it's just making them the most time. But you guys were really good. I know.
Bit of catering,
bit of catering,
bit of
everything.
props picking up and chopping off, and
See,
dropping people off at
Holding posts at midnight.
Yeah, I
a
thought that
freezing
was
cold.
quite funny. But one of the moments I remember, I want you to talk about it, Steve. We was doing the shoot. I think it was when we first time. We come back here, and we was all sitting in the bar, and they was all here,
Yeah.
all of them talking, and he was smiling. And I said, "What?" He said, "This is great." Tell us about that.
For me, because of how little I seem to work, and then you get thrust into a film like this, where granted probably not massive names to everyone, but people like Tony Denham and Ian Burfield, Kim Talford, I've seen them.
Sid Livingston.
I've seen them.
E.B. Gibson.
Yeah.
Funny. Chocolate Man.
Chocolate.
Sorry, Brendan.
Or Mr. Vegas. Mr. Vegas. That's his new one.
But you get thrust into scenes with these people, and you're going, I've watched you growing up, and I've watched
Sid
you.
Livingston gets me all the time. I mean, the stuff that Sid has done, and who he's worked with.
Yeah.
He's worked with all the people, and I know him.
But for
Yeah,
me,
I know.
For me, I've sort of gone, I know your face, and then you watch a rerun of mine and go, oh, you're Art Daly's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then I find myself sitting in here, having a drink with these people, and it was just like, this is surreal, this is fantastic, and I loved every moment of this film from start to finish.
I mean, somebody. I mean, you've both worked. Obviously, you've worked on it as extras as well as on the film sets. I mean, I've worked as an extra myself, and I've worked as a featured artist as I've moved up my career.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a difference about it. I mean, when I worked as an extra, you was an extra, and you got nowhere near the stars. I mean, you were told to stay away and don't talk to them. When you was a
Changed
featured,
now, right?
yeah, it's changed a lot now. And when you was a featured artist, you was stuck in a Winnebago on your own, hoping somebody knocking on the door to talk to you. How do you find the difference between working on an independent film and something with a big budget?
This is probably the biggest film I've actually worked on, to be honest with you. So I've not really had that comparison.
Well, doing extras work is for anybody who wants to start off. I think people say you shouldn't, but I think it's a great grounding base because you learn. You can watch the actors and talk to the runners and all that. But things like this, I always say, I love working on TV because it tends to be smaller crowds and not as many casts and that. So you're treated all as like a family, if you like, rather than a big film with loads of extras. But on independent film, it is this. You're like a family. You are family.
Yeah.
You're best friends, and you working long days and sometimes nights, sleep in the same hotels and stuff.
Yeah, as the other thing I find is you find out who your friends are.
Yeah.
Because if one person lets you down, you realise he's not just letting you down; he's letting everybody down, and that has to be filled, as you said. Because how many times did I ask you to do what? Yeah. I said, yeah, you tell them, Steve. Every time I needed to change something, what did I say? You can be in this. You can do this thing.
I was your go-to replacement.
Yeah.
which was for me as an actor was fantastic because I got more and more time, more and more dialogue, and it was great because for me it was. I mean, I never had a small part in this, but by the end of it, I was one of the biggest roles, and it sort of all felt nice for me.
And this is why I did the same with you when we was doing the shooting at the Royal Oak at Harwich. I said, "You're Dan, ain't you?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Come down, I'm adding a scene." And it's because I like to work like that, and because this is all built around this Babysitters, Luke's and Albert universe, I know it all. So if they're there, I think I can write something for them. And I was glad enough to be able to give them the opportunity to
It's good as well because you're getting faces from people that's in this little world that the film's based around, and you're seeing the same familiar faces sometimes in the background, sometimes walking past.
So come on, what inspires you? What inspires you to keep doing this job, acting, or this business?
Inspires me is making people feel how I feel when I meet one of your favourite actors or something. When I've been to these Comic Cons and things like that, and you meet.
Well, that's the biggest inspiration why you want to do it.
I love entertaining people.
Yeah,
I want people to feel that nice. Oh, he's a real nice guy. I saw him. He was on TV. It's not the fame. It's just that feeling of being nice.
And as you go, sometimes they'll catch you on a bad day, and you're like, no, not at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, he's bad. My sister-in-law's just passed away. Excuse me, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. I mean, I think John Wayne said to Michael Caine, never wear suede shoes.
Yeah.
He said, because you'll meet somebody who go, oh, you're Michael Caine, and you turn around and piss on your suede shoes. And that's why Paul Newman didn't give autographs in the end. He said, because he was in the lavatory and someone shoved a pen and he said, I'm busy. He said, well, I only want you to sign this. And he was like, I'm busy. So what inspired you?
I don't really know. I just, as I said again, because I don't do loads, when I do come on, it just reignites that buzz in me, and I just want to do more, and I just want to do more, and I want to get better. And working on films like this, where you work the calibre of actor that was on this film, it sort of gives you the push to raise your game and be better. And for me, even some of the scenes I weren't in, I like to stand back and just watch. And you learn.
Yeah.
And I
Never
don't
stop.
stand behind there and watch down the lens and it's just you see more on that lens than just watching it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I've always said that to people. Look down. I mean, Darren told me this. He said, whatever you do, look at the monitor. Don't look at the action. Look at the monitor. He said, because that's what we're filming. Like, how they're coming for us. And he said, look at the monitor.
That's one of my crew.
And it's basically when you look at that, and you can see, you judge. You think, oh God, I can see where it is now. I'm thinking, how's this going to work? I still get that. Do you think, how's this going to work? And then you see it cut together. I mean, having said that, what inspires you? If I had a magic wand and touched with a magic wand of both of you, what role would you ever like to play? Or who would you like to work with? And I don't care if they're long gone or they're in the future or someone like that, or who would you like to work? And you can't say, you know, if you're picking a director or picking an actor, you can't say me or Darren, right? Because
Well, through that then, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think you're crawling. But there's
now, working now, I think there's two actors working now that, to me, they are probably the greatest of their generation.
Yeah.
That's Gary Oldman and Stephen Graham. I think they are completely outstanding.
Yeah.
Of yesteryear, I'd love to have worked with Michael Caine and I'd have loved to work with Bob Hoskins. I thought Bob Hoskins was amazing.
Yeah, Gary Oldman for me as well. Alan Rickman, I'd have loved to work with him. It's just got one of those
I met both of
soothing
them,
voices.
Alan Rickman and Gary. I auditioned with Gary Oldman. Didn't get the part, but I auditioned for him.
And I worked with Anthony Hopkins as an extra actually on King Lear, but I would love to have a scene with him. I think that would be amazing.
And if you had a role, I mean, I asked Cole this the other way and he come out and so my light showed. He said, I'd love to play Frank Bruno. I looked at Cole and thought,
I saw that.
I thought Jesus. If anyone's making Frank Bruno, because I know they're making the
Michael Watson
story, that's Sean Crowley.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I love boxing, as you know, with me making boxing films. And as soon as he said that, I thought, God, I might do that. Because he sound like it. So if you had to choose a role, it can be a classic role, it can be something that's already gone, it can be something else. What role would you like to play?
I would like to play Quint in Jaws.
Quint.
Yeah.
Brilliant role. I love that.
We went to see The Shark Is Broken, and that was fantastic. And Ian Shaw is Robert Shaw's son. He's another one I would love to work with, Robert Shaw. But if you get a chance to go and see it, it's very good, just for the three of them on the stage.
Who would you like to work with?
One's a bit weird, really. It's a bit strange.
What
Do you
role?
remember? I've had this thing in my head since I started. Do you remember the 80s camp thing, Flash Gordon? Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
In my head, I think a Tim Burton-esque style version of that. I'd love to play Voltan.
Who's what the
The bird bloke.
I
Brian
thought
Blessed.
Do you know, Joe, I thought he was going to say Ming.
I could do. But Brian Blessed's
More
role,
appropriate.
but in a dark Tim Burton-esque style version of Flash Gordon.
See, I'd like to play Dal.
You look the part. You look the part.
But it's that. I mean, is there any other roles you'd like that you know that's around that you'd like to go? I mean, I know it's sounding, and it's like I sometimes see, and it's some of the series I watch, and people go, no, and I go, I'd love to just be in one episode. Do you remember Ian McKellen wanted to be in Coronation Street? After all them years, he wanted to be in Coronation Street, and they got a role for him in it. Is there any sort of programs like that? I'd just love to one day be in that. As again, from the past, present, or the future, if you think you know about it.
I'll let you go first.
That's a difficult one because there's quite a lot. I've done a lot of true life dramas based on actual events, like Confession, like a character called Bevan, and that Manhunt. So anything like that, really. When they do, I love true life dramas and murders and things like that, true crime. So yeah.
So somebody in history you'd like to play?
Yeah.
Anyone in particular?
I'd love a stab at Watson. Love a stab
Copper.
at.
He's a copper.
All through, isn't he?
I've not got the build for.
You're getting it, though, don't worry.
I've not got the build for Sherlock. He's tall and slim.
How about
Basil
you?
Rathbone.
How about you, Steve?
It'd have to be something kind of comedy. It would have to be something in comedy.
carry-ons as well. Something
See,
carry-ons.
they'd be great, but they wouldn't work now, would they?
No.
Well, they would. It's just they wouldn't be allowed to work. That's the thing. And I mean, I don't want to get into it. I mean, that brings on the next question. You know, since you, as you keep saying, a short time, but it's been a few years now. Because what sort of changes have you seen? You know what I mean? You ain't got to be politically correct or whatever, but you know, some of it I can understand, some of it can't. But what changes in the business have you seen? And have you come up to the point where there's a click?
There is a click, and to be fair, one of the first things I ever wrote was a thing called Cabbies, and it was.
I auditioned for that.
You did audition for that. There was a lot of, I suppose, sexual innuendo sort of jokes in it and all that. And I've watched it back recently and gone, they would not be accepted now. Some of the stuff that I had in there, even Burnt Toast, which we tried to do,
Yeah,
a lot of that would
It's like Fools and Horses. They won't show on the BBC.
be frowned upon now. I still think they're funny,
Yeah.
but I suppose it's people's views have changed. I don't know, but I've still got sort of an old school mentality where I start. 80s comedy for me was amazing, funny.
Yeah.
Things like your Heidi Highs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Game on in the 90s and stuff, funny, but
No, I thought. To me, I think you know, it's. I'm not against it. It's because people should be allowed to like what they like.
Yeah.
But I don't think they should be allowed to tell you what you should laugh at.
yeah. I mean, I find it bad now that all these comics from the 90s and the early 2000s are now coming out and apologising for their material.
Yeah.
It's like, well, at the time it wasn't frowned upon.
Yeah.
So
but it's their only
why-
jokes, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're
why
not-
would you have to
offence is
apologise?
taken,
That's right.
not given.
It's personal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Offence. You can't say that's offensive. What you can say is, I'm offended by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I mean,
offended.
there was things in Lucas and Albert that we were laughing out loud. Then we were thinking, because nobody else was laughing, you're thinking,
Yeah,
it's a bit risky.
I mentioned that before. I say one line, and everyone said, "Oh, you won't be allowed to say that." I thought, "What's she going to come about the line about that?" She said, "You said the word queer," and I'm thinking, "Did you not hear the other lines?" And yet, you was there when the guy come out to me and went, "I love that."
Yeah.
And he went, "I love that." He said, "Took me back to when I was a kid." He said, "I thought that was so right." He said, "I said, did it for you?" He said, "No." He said, "Because you was playing a part, and I knew why you were saying it. You were trying to get at it."
Yeah.
And it was, and I thought, good, you understood it. You understood it. It's simple. I mean, oh yeah, here they go. Anyway, it proves it does it live, doesn't it? So, where do you think independent film is going? You know what I mean?
Where do you think it's going?
Yeah, I mean, not just this film. We know where we want to go with this. I mean, I've talked about all that, but I mean, what I'm saying is, where do you think independent film stands? I mean, in the 60s, independent, in the 50s, independent films were very important to the British film industry.
I think they are now.
I still think they
because
Yeah.
I think that the British film industry is dying a death. You need that independent film because the big studios don't seem to be there making stuff
Well, the
anymore.
thing is, I think Hollywood, they've run out of ideas, so they're just regurgitating old stories. But when people do independent films, they're from their own, a lot of the time, own experiences and own memories of things, and they're writing about what they know.
It is. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, I love independent films, and as I say to a lot of people, I never run anybody's films down. Being on this side and knowing what it takes just to get a film over the line, I know how hard it is. But I'm not always going to like everything they do, and if I just don't like it, it's just my solitary opinion. I don't.
Yeah.
It didn't touch me, and I said this to Jimmy. I said to Carl, we could pick our top 10 favourite films, and they ain't going to be the same. But out of each one of our films, you're going to go, that film.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, you like the Third Man?
Third Man.
Couldn't stand it.
Couldn't stand it. Philistine. Philistine. Absolute Philistine. Couldn't stand the Third Man. Philistine. But it's that. So if going on to that, what British movies have you seen that have stood the time of classics that you feel that you mentioned The Long Good Friday, and that which is one of my favourites.
Carter was.
Carter.
The original Italian Job was fantastic.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. That's it.
Absolutely
There's some other films like I love, like as I said, The Third Man, and it's some of the older stuff. It's some of the David Lean stuff, which is like Oliver Twist, and it's there's little tiny films, even Love Actually and all that. People go to me, Love Actually, I love it. I watch it every time. Gets me. Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
That bit in there's some great
I
performances.
came across a film a couple of weeks ago. It was called The Chain. It had Warren Mitchell in it, Bernard Hill. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Boys from the Black Stuff.
Yeah. And it was basically 7 people who were moving house, and it was that chain, and it was just looked through the eyes of the removal men, and it was just like written by Jim Rosenthal done London's Burning. And I was sitting there watching it.
And the knowledge.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of The Plank.
And it was I put it on, and I was, Debbie went, I don't know about this, but after about half an hour ago, and it's really good, and it was such a good film.
That's the one, when you talk about it, it's Abigail's Party. I've never understood why they've never made a film of that. And I just don't think the humour would be got anywhere else apart from in Britain. Of course, when they did the stage play, and they did it on stage and for the play for today, I think it was, it just couldn't be beat. You know, it was Alison Steadman at her finest, but it wasn't just that, it was the whole cast. And it is little films like that. I mean, Jimmy comes out with lots of little films. You want to watch this? My mate always says, "You want to watch this film?" Passport, The Pimlico. Lots of little films like that. I know it's a something. Genevieve, just the music on the mouth organ. Is it Sammy Cahn on the? Is it Ryan Fountain organ? About the old cars. Other people might not.
Yeah,
but
I liked it.
I liked it. I mean, is there any other local, film people? Films you've seen recently? And of course,
No, not. There's not been a film festival that we've been to recently. We go to a lot, like, so they'll be coming up sort of Southend, and Romford comes up soon.
Yeah.
And I'd take my hat off to anybody that makes a film.
It's like the film was on the other day. What I thought was really good, but of course it's still counted as. I mean, the film that won, I said, an Oro won at the Oscars.
You had a couple of £1 million budget. Yeah.
8 million, and that's a low budget in America. And there was one I think was called About Time with Colin Gleeson and what's his name? Who was in Love Actually as a actor about he could time travel within his own lifetime by just thinking back and go back and change days. And I love that film, Sliding Doors.
Yeah,
Sliding Doors, which was
that's clever.
And we have got some right talent, which brings me to another question. We live in the east of England. You live Essex, I live Essex, you live Suffolk. What does it mean to the areas to have films made or have a thriving independent film?
It can only be good for the area.
Yeah, because there's a lot of run-down areas in Essex, and it's all you've always had that. Oh, yeah, Essex boys, Essex girls, and the old jokes about them. It's always seemed rough and ready, but I think it'd mean a lot. I mean, there's a lot of brilliant places.
I think it'd be best if we keep it from regional for the time being. Can't be too careful.
You'll never be safe. You've got 5 days.
Would you do this again? That's the other thing. I mean, I know you would.
But
what would you do different? Would you do if we get the money to do the next film, which you're obviously all going to be a part of, because that's the way it's working. What would you do different? What would you say a big budget would give us?
Time.
Yeah.
Same as Jimmy. Yeah.
Gives you time. I suppose it relaxes you as well, because you've got. Well, again, you've got the time to do it how you want it, not how you're forced to do it for the money.
And you can have caterers for the main cast.
Although you and Paula did a sterling job.
Yeah, I mean, you did. I said that to Jimmy. I said, if you've got caterers, it schedules your day. Yeah. 8 o'clock breakfast, done that, all on set by 9, blah blah, dinner, that. There we go home, and drivers, people just to drive somebody to a station or drive them home. You know what I mean? So can you take them back to Northampton or something like that? I mean, that's the time, and then the time to do it. And of course, the other thing what we know is hard is marketing.
Yeah.
And social media is great, but that's it. So
Yeah,
where would you like to see this film go? What would you like? What if we had a magic wand? What would you like to see us do? I mean, I've been thinking about Cannes this week, but next week, but I haven't got the money to go.
That's silly, ridiculous money though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not as you said, to just even get something into the Oscars. If you would had hit the right bits to get it in the Oscars, it's so expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to show it. I mean, as I said that before about this, but you can go to Cannes not being festival because there's only about 21 films in festival, But you know, there's some people going out there, and I was looking at some of the prices, and it's going to cost me £1,000 at least for 2 days.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost that if I went for 1 day. If I went for 2 days, it will probably cost me £3,000. You know what I mean? It's like, and you've got to take all this stuff with you. So, what would you like to see happen with this film? I know we've got plans.
I'd like to see it do the same as Lucas and Albert.
Well, wouldn't we all? But
Yeah.
That would be really nice because it sets you up for the follow-on film.
I mean, how do you feel about streaming? And I said, I've not cancelled streaming out.
It depends on what hat you're wearing.
Yeah.
If you're wearing your actor's hat, then streaming's fantastic. But because we're sitting on the other side of that fence as well, the money's not there. So to stick it in the cinema, to make it an event, a night out, to go and watch a film on the big screen, that's got to be a good thing.
I'd go cinema all day long.
Yeah. It's a buzz, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what you do. Well, guys, I mean, I think it's been great chatting to you. I think spoke about it, we could speak for hours.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be seeing a lot more of you guys over the next few months anyway. And hopefully I'm going to get some more interviews done. But it's been absolutely great. Cheers, Steve.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you,
Dave.
Tony.
Cheers, Dave.
We had our first scene together as well. 3 years we've known each other.
10 years working together and that first scene together.
Oh, look, it's Steve Little. Just going to say thank you very much for watching. And stay tuned for more interviews. Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.